Good morning, this is Mr. Jim reporting from St. Pete Beach. I'm here with my friend Dr. Beth Voorhees, and she's going to tell you a little bit about, or a lot of it about, the skimmer colony here and why it's important for us to be aware of the birds that are nesting right here on the beach. So I'll let her take it away from here.
Hi, today I'm in front of the Black Skimmer colony. It's in front of the Serrata on St. Pete Beach. And the Black Skimmers are not just hanging out right there, they're actually nesting on the sand. So the males and females form bonds that last actually a couple years, and they make a little scrape in the sand, and then they lay up to 4 eggs, 1 per day, and then they basically protect the nest. They will alternate who's on top of the nest, and then whoever's not protecting the nest could be relaxing down by the shore or going out to get food. Skimmer colonies we have left in Florida. There's about 2,000 pairs in Florida, and we have about 300 of them right here. So some things you can do to protect the birds. Enter this area right here because you could accidentally step on the eggs. Another thing that you don't want to do is there's some birds just like hanging out by the shore, and they're trying to rest. And when people run through them to get them to fly, that actually takes a lot of calories, and so that's really bad for them. Another issue that we're having on this colony is we're having some predation from fish crows that are eating their eggs. And part of what attracts fish crows to a beach like this is people feeding the crows and laughing gulls, maybe by accident. So it's important not to ever feed, wild birds out on the beach. It's not good for the birds, but it's also not good for other birds. It's also a good idea to, clean up your trash really well afterwards.
So what kind of research are you doing on the skimmers?
So one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how long they live and what impacts their survival. So at the end of hatching their chicks, and the chicks get to be pretty big, we will go, and when the chicks kind of wander outside of here, we'll take them and we just put a little band on their leg. And then we come out and we look for these bands that have letters and numbers on them. So right now I've got about 10 banded birds right here in this colony. Most of them are from this area, from the Tampa Bay region, but I actually saw 2 birds today that are from Marco Island and maybe considering moving up here. So we're getting information about survival. We're also learning about whether or not the colonies mix or not, which is really important for genetic variability.
Do you get any of your birds going up to like Texas or other places outside of Florida?
During the winter, they don't really migrate, but they do move around a bit. Some stay here, some go south, and some actually do go north, never to Texas so far. But none of our birds have relocated outside of the state, nor have we had an out-of-the-state bird. There are some that are banded in different states, and none of them have permanently relocated here yet. But we've only been doing these studies for about 5 years, so we don't know everything yet.
And are there other people studying skimmers in other parts of the country?
Yes, so there's a researcher in Texas, and then there are state biologists in North Carolina, Virginia, Massachusetts, and New Jersey who are also have, New York, who also have small banding projects going also. We've each chosen a different color, and then we have numbers and letters on the band, so you can quickly look over at the bird and see a yellow band and know it's a New York bird, and then look a little closer and get the numbers. So that's pretty exciting.
So what's your color?
Our color is Florida is green. So all the Florida biologists, there's me and a person down in Marco, and we make sure that we're just using these green bands, and then we coordinate to make sure we don't have the same letter number combination.
So do you want members of the public reporting if they see any skimmers with a band on them?
If you have like a good pair of binoculars or a camera and you can actually see the numbers and letters on the band, yeah, I would love that information. You can find me, Beth Voorhees, at Eckerd College, or if you just Google skimmer my page and you can just send me an email with that information. I probably have about 100 people contribute band information every year. Some of them are professional biologists, some of them are just members of the public who happen to notice a bird's band. Now, you would never want to scare a bird to get the band, but often, particularly these birds on city beaches, on municipal beaches like this busy one, you can get somewhat close to them when they're outside of the colony, and then if you have a camera or a pair of binoculars, you can write down the information.
Right. So what else can you tell us about as far as are any active nests right now, or?
Yes, we have.
Can we get a little closer, or we should?
Yeah, I think we can get a little bit closer.
How did you know if you're too close?
The birds will start to kind of bark at you. Oh, although I see a fish crow going in, hopefully it's not going to get an egg. So fish crows are one of the main predators. Another one, so something I study is what can we do to have fewer fish crows. Yeah, we have 4 right now. Definitely a problem. So sometimes when you get too close, the birds will start to bark at you, and then sometimes when they fly up or if they come after you, then you know you're too close. Occasionally, black skimmers will do something called a broken wing display, so they actually pretend they're injured to lure you away, and then you know you are way too close from them. Now, you're going to notice that most of these birds are kind of just relaxing. Black skimmers mainly forage during the night, so from sunset to sunrise. And so they basically get their fish by skimming over the water. And when they feel a fish in their lower mandible, they will grab it. So that's why right now most of them are here during the day and not out foraging.
So are you doing anything to discourage the crows?
Well,
you had an interesting project. I don't know if you want to talk about it, to try to discourage the crows from...
I mean, some of the things that we can do is to make sure there's no trash cans, things like that. I have put artificial eggs out there that don't taste very good, and then the crow eats it and learns that the eggs don't taste good, and then hopefully transfers that learning to the skimmers.
Do you have any problems with... Should I wait for the plane?
Yeah, oh, yeah, that...
But you'd be surprised that thing will cut out almost all. So,
oh wow, that's great.
You want to talk about the signage and what you've observed with the members of the public or visitors?
Most want to walk around to the main sign, or here's kind of a better. Here's a sign here too. Do you want to go to one of those 2 signs, or?
So tell us a little bit about the behavior of some of these different birds. One of them up in the front here looks like it's dead.
Yeah, a lot of people come up to us and they say, hey, those birds look like they're dead. Now, we'll point out that that's probably a pair, so that's probably a male and a female. They probably got together at the start of the breeding season, but what we've learned from putting the bands on them is sometimes these birds get together and they're together all summer, and then in the winter they actually go their separate ways, and then we don't know how, but they find each other in the summer and they start to breed again. So this guy is sleeping, and that's because he was up getting fish all night, and now he is just relaxing. Sometimes they will dig holes in the sand, that's to make it a little cooler. And I don't see any of them with their bills open. Well, maybe that one to the right there, but they'll also pant like a dog, and that's how they cool themselves off. Now, something I don't know if we can tell with this first pair, but maybe with some of these other pairs, is we are seeing some small territoriality. Each one will maintain an area of about like a foot or 2, half a meter around each one of these scrapes. Scrapes before the female decides to lay. Another thing, I don't know if you can tell, and I don't know if you go to one of the ones on the right, is that the male is actually a little bit bigger than the female. He weighs more, his bill is longer, and his wings are a little bit longer too. And we don't really know why that's true, why we have bigger males and smaller females, but that is something true of black skimmers everywhere. So, small territorial skirmishes here, and they won't hurt each other, but they will definitely let other birds know to stay away.
Are there any predators on the adult birds?
You know, the main thing that will eat the adult birds is we have had some big birds of prey. We have had coyotes will eat occasionally adult birds if they can get them. And we have had an adult bird killed by a domestic cat before. But for the most part, we think the adults live a pretty good time. Right now, what I'm finding is that most of the adult birds survive between 1 year and the next year. There is a situation where the birds live to be over 20 years old from a study done a long time ago. So we think that this is a pretty long-lived bird.
Why would they be black if they're on the hot sand?
You know, a lot of people, when they are laying there, it kind of looks like a hummock. You know, you kind of can't really see them. Some people say it's maybe so that when they're over the ocean, predators can't see them. Maybe they're more vulnerable when they're foraging from birds of prey on top. We're not exactly sure. Probably the most interesting thing, though, is this is the only genus of birds. So there's 3 different species of black skimmers underneath one genus, and they all have that lower bill. No other bird is like that, and that is because of their unique ability just to skim over the ocean. Some birds you'll see diving, like brown pelicans dive. Species of birds that look a little bit like seagulls called terns will dive. But black skimmers just skim over the top, so they're really eating the fish that are drawn to the surface of the water.